Yes, we're back in the box, and of course, Nigerian strikers are hitting goals right, front, back, left, and center. And we're here to talk about them today. As AFCON is just under 140 days, just under 4 months left before the continental showpiece goes ahead. And of course, Arante is back on the show to talk about it with me, as is our chief editor, our chief correspondent at Afro Sport HQ, Atayo Ogunseye, is here. And of course, 2 victors and 1 Taiwo. They are doing a lot in Europe. Victor Osimhen, 2 matches, 3 goals he's got. And Victor Boniface is enjoying life in Germany since he moved to Bayer Leverkusen. And also Taiwo Awoniyi, of course, he was also in the news in the weekend when he grabbed a goal in Old Trafford. But what have you made about the performances of these strikers? Does it ooze you with a lot of confidence going into the qualifiers against Sao Tome and Principe, and even AFCON, if they can, keep away from injuries?
Yeah, definitely. If I was the coach of the Super Eagles or the striking department or the attacking department, it's going to be rollout of Panadol Extra for everybody, because they are going to have so much headache on who to select as the top striker for the Nigerian team. We know Victor Osimhen is the #1 candidate, no doubt, but with the rise of Victor Boniface and Taiwo Awoniyi into the mix, as well as the likes of Terry Murphy and Gift Orban, who has been tearing up things in Europe lately, it's going to be a serious one, a serious decision-making process for the team, the coaching staff, and it just bodes well for the team in general, because it shows we have so much depth in the striking department, and it gives us the opportunity to play around with the tactics depending on what team you're facing.
Let me come to Tayo now. Don't you think this is a headache for whoever the coach is? I mean, bearing in mind that you have strikers firing on all cylinders, and you have to make, depending on how many you want to use, you have to pick 1, 2 at most to start games for you.
Yeah, an headache you would say, but to me it's not as severe as you painting it.
Okay.
Definitely,
for it.
definitely, Victor Osimhen will be the top of your list. Then if you're looking at who to partner with him, maybe you want to look at Awoniyi, Taiwo. They played together. Okay, they didn't play together actually. That was under 17, but on the current form, you may want to look at him. Maybe he should pair Victor Osimhen. But if you look at Awoniyi at the national team level, he has not been performing. At the Nations Cup in Cameroon, he had a whole lot of chances. He couldn't bury them. In current form, you might want to use him as a candidate, as a striking partner to Victor Osimhen. But then, as a coach, you wonder at the national team, how has his performance been? Not so encouraging. Then maybe you have to look at your left, pick Victor, the other Victor now, throw him into it. But then, when you bring players like youngsters who are new to the system, they tend to struggle, especially when they play for the national team. Because when they struggle, they always want to try and impress and create a kind of strong impression immediately. But unfortunately, at times, it doesn't really go down well.
But then, looking at, of course, the last qualifying game, although the Super Eagles have qualified.
Definitely.
But looking at the last qualifying game against Sao Tome and Principe, last time we faced them last year was a thumping, 10-0 ended. Isn't this the proper testing ground for Victor Boniface to perhaps make a claim for a position in that team?
Yeah. I feel it's a proper testing ground for the coaches themselves to know the depth of players they have. Instead of calling, in my opinion, instead of calling up the household names, you could go experimental, pick up these players, especially in the local leagues. You could call up someone from the local league just to know how they could fit into the team, and it's unfortunate with our coaching, the coaching situation right now.
I was coming to that.
The test is going down.
That's the next the talking point of this conversation.
So we know the test is going to go down.
As things stand, naturally the mantle falls on Austin Oguavon to take over as technical director, because we know that Jose Pesero's contract has not been renewed. what do you think should be the future of that seat? Who should occupy it? There's going to be a lot of conversation. It's one of the most maligned positions in the land when it comes to sports. It has to even be the number one, if you want to put it in that sense. But what do you think should change? I mean, obviously there'll be a change with Jose Peseiro, but what is the ideal change to prepare the team with just under 4 months left before they travel to Ivory Coast? What should be the ideal situation in that position?
No, the ideal situation is you have Victor Osimhen as well as maybe you look at Victor Boniface, try him out. He's new on the block.
No, I'm
If
talking
you're
about
looking
the
at
coaching.
the coaching department.
Yeah,
I'm definitely still coming back to that.
Okay.
I'm talking about the ideal situation for the strikers.
Okay.
But then to now think out those two to make them blend and work very well and be productive and firing and giving the goals in a match, the Nations Cup, the coaching department needs to be well fine-tuned.
Absolutely.
Everybody still remembers what we had in Cameroon, Eguavon in charge. Even we couldn't qualify for the World Cup as well.
That was painful for a lot of Nigerians.
Very painful. That left a whole lot of indelible mark on all of us. And if he is going to be in charge right now, I believe the NFF will just use that as a stopgap measure. Because going to the Nations Cup, Nigeria needs to put up a whole lot of performance. Semi-finals has been the target, but the last time we won the tournament has been long ago, in 2013.
Yeah.
That will be about
10 years ago.
Long ago. So
10
what
years.
they just need to do is that they must look for a very good coach, a competent one, not journeymen, those looking for jobs here and there, whose track record or their performance have not really given a whole lot of confidence to the team. Because if a coach is not that good and you're asking, you are telling Victor Osimhen, go and get me goal, he will look at you at your record. What can you get out of me? How do you manage these players to get the best from them? It depends on the bench. Okay. And if you cannot really, it depends on the coaching, that's the bench. If you cannot really give them the kind of top-notch training that they get from their clubs or from their managers at their club, then we're just going to struggle, definitely.
But okay, let's talk about the league form of these players. Obviously, Victor Osimhen went all the way, had an historic season with Napoli last time out, helping up to the Scudetto after a long time. But what would you set apart for these players as the target for Victor Osimhen, for Victor Boniface, and also for Giftoban, Nigerian strikers, Taiwo Awoniyi particularly? What will you set as a target with AFCON in mind also?
Well, what I would say concerning that is that for Victor, he's under a new coach. He is still picking up the form he left off last season. Remember, he scored 26 goals in the league. And I think he will still maintain that, barring injuries. Because if you are able to manage a player to stay off injury, then you can get the best out of Victor Osimhen. For Taiwo Awoniyi, he's just rolling into his game. 7 games so far in 7 matches for Nottingham Forest. And if he continues, maybe he can definitely be one of the big guns that Nigeria will be rolling into Cote d'Ivoire. And Giftoban is neither here or there, because when you play for clubs in that league, it's usually difficult to translate that in the national team. Your club form is usually very dependent. Is dependent on so many factors,
absolutely,
but which are not usually available in Nigeria when it comes to you playing for the Super Eagles. For your club now, you have so many coaches, but for the national team, you have about 3. And of course, the NFF will always complain. Now people will say, "Oh, you should have about 2 coaches." Remember, they had to ask some coaches to go, Ikesho Rumu and a few others. They had to ask them to go before.
Controversial moments.
They had to, just because of funds and all that.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the coach, because normally in a team you should have a coach who will take care of the front line, the midfield and the defense, or different coaches for that level. And you have your nutrition and all that. But we don't have that in the national team. So if there's none to take care of that, players like Giftoban or even Victor Boniface will suffer. Because ordinary form will not be able to help you to deliver at the next level in your national team.
Anyways, last assignment falls on Ranti. How many goals do you think these players will score? Victor Osimhen, Victor Boniface and Taiwo Awoniyi set a goal target for them.
Victor Osimhen possibly going to break the 26 goal mark he achieved last season. He started on.
He's got 3 already.
Got 3 already.
To score 23 more. I think that's a fair one.
Fair one. For Victor Boniface, we are going to see a new striker we've not seen before because he's. If you go by his last 2 clubs, he has scored less than 20 goals combined in over 30, 40 games. But under the tutelage of Xavi Alonso, he has brought out something different from Victor Boniface. Yeah, and his finishing is something else. Like there's that confidence you can see in him, and a call up to the national team would further boost that confidence, which every striker needs. For a goal count for Boniface, double digits would do for me. It's
double
a good
digits could be 10.
Yeah,
I 10
10 plus. Okay, 10 plus. Let's say 18. I'll give him 18 goals in all competitions. While for Taiwo Awoniyi,
in the Premier League, he's got double digits last season.
Yeah, so, and he's a force to reckon with right now. He scores goals.
I mean, the moment of the weekend was when he bodied Marcus Rashford.
Well, everybody thought Rashford had the pace, but it was something else.
Yeah.
He scores goals from every touch, head, leg, left foot, right foot. He does everything.
Don't do it, Gary Neville.
I will try not to. But Awoniyi has come into his shell from his last club. Let's go back to his days in Liverpool. Then rambled around in German league trying to find a club that would suit him. Then Union Berlin came along, and that was something that really bolstered the real Taiwo Awoniyi that we're seeing today, because that was a club that built everything around him, and that's something we can see in Nottingham Forest right now, because last season, he was literally their go-to guy. This season, he started on the right note again. And this is something he also did in Union Berlin, saving them from relegation. So goal count, 20-plus goals in all competition, fair enough. But that would be a really hard feat to achieve in Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, okay. Well, on a lighter note, thankfully, he had the jacuzzi right there in Merseyside to grow. Thank you very much for this conversation.